everybody. This is Dom with the Vlog of Many Things, and with me tonight is
Steve and Tenkar.
Magic Hands Tenkar is what they call me.
You know what? Whenever we try to do the introduction, you guys just stare at the camera like your camera shy.
Yeah, got to turn off zombie mode. Hold on here.
I got to hold up the show on my own here. Douglas, how you doing? Mark, how you doing tonight? Well, tonight's kind of just we're going to wing it tonight. We're good at doing that here.
Wing?
Yeah. If we're going to wing it, bring the barbecue sauce.
There's not much real gaming news.
Everything's been kind of quiet lately.
Hold on. Eric, let me ask you a question. Is there any new gaming news out there?
There is some gaming news, and it's not just the surface news. It's a little bit beyond that. So, apparently, it was announced earlier this week that the Complete Strategist.
Oh God!
The Complete Strategist is closing.
I read loosely about that. What's going on?
Okay, well, I first saw it when Ron Meisner announced it on his Facebook. Apparently, it was a scoop. He was at the King of Prussia Mall location and saw, I don't know, I guess an announcement that wasn't really announced yet, that the store was closing at the end of April. And he said it was going to be the New York and King of Prussia location.
Hold on real quick. Is this the New York store?
Well, he was at the one that's in King of Prussia outside Philly, because Ron's a Philly guy.
Okay.
So, but he insisted that the New York store is closing too. Now, there actually was, I guess, like a press announcement from the Complete Strategist, which effectively said, yes, the King of Prussia mall location is closing. No, we were not ready to announce it yet. Somebody else preemptively announced it.
Ooh,
Oops.
Scoop.
Okay, so he got the scoop, but he also got the scoop apparently from social media posts before the employees of the store knew.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I don't know the full story. Apparently, there's been a lot of posts online that have been posted and deleted from various communities saying that Ron went into the management office and this was buried underneath paperwork. Come here.
That's not how you behave in somebody else's house.
So I don't listen. I don't know. That's hearsay at the moment. But I do know that the denial of the New York closing is kind of like we haven't finalized plans for the New York location yet, which tells me, this is my 8.5 years as working in retail before I became a cop, is that what they're doing is whatever doesn't get sold at King of Prussia is going to get consolidated, brought to the New York location, and likely liquidated or sold off at a discount at the New York location, and I'm going to guess that that's going to probably close in the coming months.
So
my guess, I don't have any inside baseball on this. The only inside baseball is the flyer that announced the store closing for April 26th or something like that.
Gotcha.
Get a cheaper rent somewhere, like.
Excellent. Airline tickets purchased. See you at WizardCon 2 next month. Hell yes. Excellent.
But now, Joe the lawyer had talked to the owner of, or the manager of the location in Manhattan back in, I guess, 2021, 2022. And they were paying just south, I believe, of $20,000 a month in rent.
You know what? It sounds like to me they're trying to price them out, because that real estate where they're at, I bet you, is worth a lot of money.
Oh,
like Times Square.
Yeah, it's basically a block and a half from the Empire State Building.
Yeah. Oh God, multi-million dollar piece of property.
And this is a location. I mean, you look at the storefronts, and you've got storefronts that have been there forever, and then you got the brand new storefronts. And I am sure that it's going to be a bit rough one. But that when that story leaked. It got picked up by some of the I guess the gaming publications. Even my brother-in-law, who hasn't gamed in like, I don't know, 30 years since he was in college, called me the next morning after I saw Ron's announcement, and then the next morning, I get a phone call from my brother-in-law. He goes, "Did you hear? Did you hear?" I go, and he's like, "About the complete?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I heard." And and this is before the complete strategist cleared up the air on the New York location. Again, I suspect that it's going to close, but not in the time frame that, because they didn't say it's not closing. They said we haven't finalized plans or.
Yeah, but the problem he's going to have is he's got employees now. They're going to trust him worth of shit, and they're going to want to move on.
Oh, they're gonna.
Oh yeah, and some of them have been there for decades.
But also, in all fairness, if you have an employee that's been loyal to you for decades, it's pretty shitty to tell them at the last minute when their living depends upon you.
Right.
Yeah,
You're going to give them less. I'm going to guess
especially here.
the plan was to, again, no inside baseball. I'm going to guess that the plan was to announce it like a month in advance. So probably the 23rd or the 27th of this month, whatever was going to line up. And then, oopsie.
Well, that seems to be like the pattern with everybody lately. It's just, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a job tomorrow. Like, come again, you know?
Yeah. Low 505 asks, do you smash the bottle or just uncork it? I just don't. I don't get. You know, Steve knows my history with my publishing company. I had a lot of people working for me, and I would never ever do that to them.
No.
You know, you just can't do that to people who are loyal to you because it's so hard. I mean, Steve knows, you know, the women who worked for me for the long term, we had a few people come in and go because they had no loyalty. And I'll tell you, as an employer, loyalty is a great thing to have.
I agree. But here's the thing when it comes to retail. If you tell your staff, right, hey, listen, we're going to close in 3 months, right? Your staff will not keep their mouths shut.
Well, no.
No more. And what's going to happen is you're going to kill whatever business you have now as everybody's going to start gearing up. High time.
Okay, he's here. Hold on, stop. He's here. Tom, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. And he speaks. But you're going to kill today's business. You're going to kill the current business because people are going to wait to get there right now. They're going to wait to get the discounts.
Yeah.
But you don't want to announce a closing, longer than you need to. To tell you this, well, when you put in 2 weeks notice these days, the company usually just lets you go or stops giving you hours. If they are good, they pay you for the 2 weeks. Yeah, actually, that is in Rachel's business. It was 30 days, Rach?
Yeah, it was pretty standard that you'd have to give them 30 days to be able to, fill your position.
Yeah.
If they were really like, oh shit, we don't know what we're gonna do. Can you interview for your replacement, please?
So
see, that's the nice thing about my wife, though. With my wife, like they do yearly contracts. So they just notified my wife like a month and a half ago they're renewing her contract for another year.
okay.
Good.
But see, my wife teaches developmental kindergarten and she has several key certifications. So she's lucky. But her school district's very stable and they are very good to their teachers. They are all the way. They got a freaking chef that works for my wife's freaking school, a chef.
Wow.
No, this is no joke, okay?
It's a
My
public
wife messages me and goes, honey, should I have the chicken cordon bleu for lunch or should I have the chicken parmesan? No joke. And I'm sitting here eating a freaking ham sandwich for lunch. He sends me food pics. His name is Chef John.
Nice.
I don't need the proper name. My name is Chef Jean.
This is not a private school. This is a public elementary school.
Dang.
Yeah, when I was going, it was like we just had basically the greasy spoon or the greasy spoon type old lunch lady. I don't know how else to say it.
The kicker about this with my wife's chef, the school chef. Okay, people call themselves chef. Okay, you're a chef. Yeah, you're a freaking cook is what you are. No, this guy's a freaking chef. Because like he goes, like my wife goes, oh, we got the menu for this week. I don't know which salad to pick tomorrow. Well, what are there? Like 2? No, we have like 9 of them we can choose from.
Dang.
Well, if he's actually a certified chef, I'd be curious to know who he's certified through, because I got certified through was the I think it was CIA or something. It's the main overarching culinary.
Yeah, Culinary Institute of America. My brother-in-law got certified.
I don't know who
Yeah.
this guy's certified through, but I'll tell you something. The shit that my wife sends me blows me away. Because this guy, like, good Lord. But it's a bonus of working for the school. So,
Okay.
a
It's like,
freaking
we
chef.
want to ensure you
when I
stay,
was
so
in
here's fancy
school,
food.
Pizza Friday was a thing. It was like, Pizza Friday, yes, we get pizza
Yes.
today.
It's like I remember in junior high school just going up and looking at the food and going, "Oh God, maybe I'll just get the ice cream bars."
Yeah, you buy like the Funyuns and the cookies.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know.
Scott Mulder goes, okay, Glenn is coming to the con. I'm coming to the con. Tom needs to come to the con.
the
See,
God.
in the UK, because I didn't go to a US school, I went to a British school when I was
Mhm.
young. We were living in the UK. We actually were fed pretty good.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
had
yeah.
hot breakfast every morning, and lunch we had a good lunch. And then on Fridays they made us roast and Yorkshire pudding on Fridays.
Ew.
Yes, it wasn't like the really really high end stuff, but I mean when you're like 12 years old. Oh, my wife is coming to the chat to brag. Here she is. Chef John is awesome. He's won some school cooking competitions. Well, whoop-de-doo. Yeah, little greasy pizza squares. Those things were freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Am I the only guy who looked forward to pizza on
Oh,
school day?
I loved it, except we just couldn't afford it when I was growing up.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right. You guys
Mm.
went to U.S. schools. I didn't go to U.S. school till I was almost 15.
God
I went to a
bless-
British school.
God bless you, sir. God bless you.
So, and then I got in trouble when I came back to the U.S.
Oh, I remember that story.
Yeah, my teachers wrote me up, and I almost got suspended because I had a little bit of a British accent because I lived there. My dad, when he retired from the army, he took a job at Bell Helicopter. We lived in Iran for about 3 years in Isfahan. And when all the crap happened, he took a job with Fields in London, out of London. So we moved to Leeds. So I grew up in the UK pretty much. My teacher took me to the principal's office as I was faking a British accent. And they called my mom, and that was a mistake.
Oh,
Because usually your parents are on the teacher's side, but not that day. She
Right.
wasn't.
No, not my mom. Yours on 9. Whatever,
Oh yeah, here she goes. She says,
Going to
yeah,
work.
my wife says we get to pick from calzones, salads, sandwiches, wraps, plus fruit and sometimes soup. Oh, excuse me.
what isn't contained to?
It's the peasants. The peasants will maybe catch up with my wife one day.
The
I'm
peasantry.
sitting there sucking on a ham sandwich and thinking I'm bawling and hear it. So Eric and Steve, anything else going on in our lives tonight?
Other than the crazy tit for tat overseas right now, there's
In our lives, that's the general. That's
Well,
the life of.
What's your guys'
Gaia.
gas? What's your guys' gas prices where you're at
We
right
went
now?
up about. Normally, you'd start seeing the prices go up for the spring travel season anyway.
Right.
So,
after Easter, like
yeah,
around Memorial
But
Day.
when it started going up a little bit, we're up like $1, but we were down pretty well. So I was like,
Yeah, we're over $4 a gallon here now.
not quite. I could probably as of the other day, I could probably have gotten it for if I searched well $3.59.
Well, I guess the Iranians hit a refinery in Qatar. I
Oh,
believe it was a major gas refinery in Qatar. So I figure my gas bill for next fucking month will be like freaking triple.
Well, here's the funny part is, according to the latest statistical analysis or whatever it was, they did a survey on all of the gas the U.S. uses. We don't we import stuff, but what we do is we import certain fuels that it's cheaper to import it than it is for us to process it, and we take those fuels and we export them. What if they were to close off the borders today? We still have an excess of gas production. We actually
But those
have
are based on the strategic oil reserves that had to be released by the president.
right. Well, the thing is
President can authorize it.
that's light crude. The stuff that we have trouble processing is heavy crude, and we have a lot of that. That's the stuff we export to others who process it and send it back to us.
Well, this is an interesting thing. Thaitis says the Qataris are pretty pissed, and so are the Saudis, and also everyone else, because Iran is hitting everybody.
Oh
And this is not political to me, but I'm going to say something about Iran, okay? And that's this, is that the United States is not prepared to enter into a ground war with Iran, because Iran is far different than Iraq and also Afghanistan. Iran has a standing army that is prepared. Iraq did not.
Mhm.
Iraq really relied on the Republican Guard. And I just, and I don't give a shit who the president is. I'm talking about in general Iran. Iran is showing that even with our air superiority, and we have, let's face it, we have total air superiority basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They can still make it through that air superiority with drones.
Mhm.
And the Ukraine war is showing how effective drone technology is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when Ukraine is sending over advisors to Middle Eastern countries to tell them how to deal with it. That's just a little strange how this. And the thing with drones is, and we're getting into real world, but
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
drones are cheap compared to what you need to take down the drone. So
Yeah.
it could be all right. The drone was 50,000. The missile to take it down was 100,000.
Mhm.
The math doesn't math.
Yeah,
Now-
you bleed the other side dry.
Now the other thing with Iran is that they've stopped paying pretty much their regular army. They're only paying their Iranian guard.
But see, this is the kicker with the Iranian Guard and the Iranian Army is, and they proved this in the Iran-Iraq War, is that American soldiers, even after the Iraq and the Afghan War, don't have the mentality to do the type of combat that the Iranians do. Because what the Iranians do is they take children and they take teenagers and then give them keys. And they'll tell them this is the key to heaven. And they send them in waves against the enemy to take care of the minefields and they give them grenades basically. And they'll literally hand a 12-year-old a hand grenade, pull the pin and say, go. And the kid thinks he has a key to heaven and he's going to go to heaven. The problem is you got an American soldier and he's got a line of, a couple hundred teenage kids running at him.
Yeah, it's a horrible
Horrible type of
situation.
combat.
I think that my guess from what I've been following, either from both the mass media and other sources, is that we're going to put ground troops onto that.
The island.
Yeah, we're going to take the island, and
No, we're not.
well, I get that's that's the geopolitical move. You don't want to go to the mainland. You want to take a spot that once you take it, you can kind of hold it.
Yeah, the reason that they would go after that island is to bankrupt Iran, because you take that island and you cut off about 90% of their income. And
But Iran's already demonstrating one key thing, is that all Iran has to do is hit a couple tankers in the strait.
Right.
They lock up the strait.
Yep.
And once you lock up the strait, you lock up the oil, is what you do.
Right. And the weird thing is they're locking up the oil that generally goes toward their allies, like China. I don't know. They're like, well, they're letting Chinese boats in for a $2 million tariff, but or toll. Sorry, wrong word.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
well, Sausage Head brings up an interesting point, and Thaiatis agrees and says ground invasion of Iran is logistically impossible. And then he also says Karg Island, we could take it, but I agree. No, the main line is not out of bounds. And I'm going to tell you the reason why is because and this is actually not a Trump thing. This was demonstrated in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was considered out of bounds in the 80s because the Russians, after a protracted land war, could not take it. And they basically left the tail between their legs. And Reagan himself said it, is only a fool invades Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, even not Khrushchev, the guy, the Russian guy with the
Gorbachev.
Boris?
Boris Yeltsin even said
Oh.
that the biggest logistical mistake of the Russian military was not Hitler, it was their decision to invade Afghanistan. And we learned a hard lesson with it. And the problem is with the United States is we don't learn lessons militarily. We do not. And we demonstrated that when we went from Iraq into Afghanistan. So
Gerald has Gerald, toss your question in the chat. We'll get to it.
hold on, I'm getting right down here. Gerald asked a question. Go ahead, Eric.
No, he has a question about D&D, but he hasn't dropped it in the chat yet. You can drop it. Listen,
Go ahead.
We're meant to be derailed.
Yeah,
We've already derailed ourselves. Please derail us back. And
we're absolutely squirrely. We'll scroll all over the place.
we talk about anything.
We are here to prove to you that sandboxes, hex crawls are the best. We are not going just because. You want us to talk about this? No, we're going to wander off to the fucking. What's in the weeds over here? What the hell is this?
But do you notice something about tonight? Proudly, I'll say this. We are talking right now about the hottest political topic that you can talk about right now on the internet, and nobody's being an asshole in chat, and we're not being assholes. We're all just talking. And
nobody try to kill each other.
That's part of what this is all about, though, also, is the ability for us to talk about things, because as a father of 3 surviving daughters, I don't want to see my daughters go to war.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to experience that. So let's get back to D&D. I'm okay with
For
that.
tonight, this chat is a hex crawl sandbox with random encounters.
That's right. Diatus has it right. We've talked about computers, but that was before the show.
Listen, not an advertising. We're not sponsored by it, but if you want to follow current events and find a way to get it where your news is not going to be all squirrely toward the left or the right, or if it is, at least you know, Ground News is a great app. I subscribe to it. We're not sponsored. There's no affiliate links. But if you want to keep yourself literally grounded in what's going on without political agendas being attached to the news you get, they'll tell you if there's a bias to the news source. And I love that because that's the way to find out your news.
Well, Joe Mountain Dev says, go ahead, if you want to read it. Go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead. No, go do it.
Gerald asks, how big do you normally make your D&D dungeons for mapping based on distance when you have your players map? I want to make a map that the players can get lost while still feeling fair. Are we talking about just general scale that I make my dungeons? I make each square 10 feet.
Right. And how big a sheet?
Boy, that's a trick question.
Yeah, it's a trick question. Like, how many rooms? Well, how many rooms depends on how many. You could do 20 rooms on a level, but then it's 5 levels with a hidden level that can only be found by certain locations. Like, I'm going to be running an open table in a couple of weeks, once a week. And I needed an outdoor area that was big enough for my players to grow into and explore while still being limited. So it's a very, very large island.
Is that the one that, wait a minute, you shared that, didn't you?
I shared that with you, yeah.
Yeah.
I got that from, I generated that using, the guy who does the one-page dungeons also has setting. It's great and it's awesome and it works out well. But now I'm going to be doing 3-hour or so sessions where players have to get back to town or a safe location before the session ends. So I'm not looking to do anything that large just yet. But if I did, it would probably be a mega dungeon, kind of like Barrow Maze or something like that, as an example. But if you're designing your own, that's your own feel, man.
What I like what I like on a dungeon, if you're going to design your own, something like multi-level, but like what you touched on earlier, is you make like a 10, 20 room dungeon, but also little secret areas where there's 5 or 6 rooms, just small little one ways, and they find something interesting and do and such. But real quick, Fugly, we're waiting on them to come back from printer right now. So once we get it back from printer, we're going to release them. Dia says, Don, really 10 feet. Yeah, let me clarify. My dungeons are 10 feet per square. That's my standard, normal. That's me. But if I'm making something that is just like a one room little deal, then I will do a 5 foot per square. But mostly 10 feet is my standard. 10 feet per square. And then Noble Shield says 10 feet is, 10 foot is the traditional D&D way. And then Gerald asks clarification. He says, I mean, like how many rooms, how big each room would be on average? That's like, Gerald, I got to say, there's no real formula.
No.
What you got to do, I think, is when you look at, okay, let's say we're going to go to a classic dungeon. What was the dungeon? Was it an old wizard's, home? Was it the bottom crypt of an old ruined castle from thousands of years ago? What is it? What are the rooms used for? If it's a storeroom, it might be 10 by 10. If it's an old wizard's lab, it might be 20 by 30.
Don, I dropped that into.
Yeah, I got it right here. I'm going to go ahead and share it.
Okay.
Eric just went ahead and shared this.
So you can use this to get. Maybe it's only going to be for inspiration, but these dungeons, they work. You can go. You can change the parameters of what you want to do. They're one level, but often they have stairs leading on to another level. But they give you an idea. Same sites where I got my setting map from.
Scott Mulder says, Saturday Night WizardCon 2, I'm running a OSR game, Starships and Spaceman 2nd Edition, and we'll be also running Colony Crawl Alpha Playtest. Excellent. Fugly says 8.5 by 11 sheet. Yeah, you don't got to go really large, but I will say one thing. If you're looking for larger maps, Gerald, you can go to places like Hobby Lobby. That's the main place you go that I've been to, and they have the large, like 12 by 18 or 11 by 17 maps, or not maps, excuse me, graph paper, or 11 by 17. I think even Staples carries it. So Thias asks, is there a reason for that perchance? Thias, can you please clarify? Because I
think you mean the 10 foot. I mean, that's just habit.
Oh, because 10 by 10 was the standard that I grew up with.
Yeah, that's me too.
Then Mark's General Mixer says, question about West Marches style games that are supposed to start and finish in town. What happens if time or other factors prevent the session from ending back in town? Do you abstract resolution?
Well, listen, I'm going to be running this online. So, yeah, if the internet crashes and shit happens, I'll have to hand wave it. But
yeah,
as a DM, you're going to have to be able to tell your players, hey, you got half an hour. Let's start. They can't just endlessly explore. They have to know that there's a time limit. And that's going to be on the DM to remind them, and for the players to be honest. And Sausage Head, all due respect, go fuck yourself.
They both basically suck, to be honest with you. If I had to choose between Harn Master or Roll Master, probably Roll Master.
Right, because I'm more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I've used it for.
Yeah. So. And then Fugly says, players suck at mapping. They can, yes.
Yes.
Mark the Shark says, islands are good to limit players' exploration until they find a ship, then all bets are off.
Well, that's up to you to give that ship or not. So
that's right. Thiata says, if it's a random dungeon or cave or house, I stick to 2 to 5 rooms, otherwise no limits. I personally, as a player, and I've said this before, I love mega dungeons. I love intricate as a player, not DM. I love mega dungeons. So that's just me. Noble Shield says, if I wanted to show modern gamers real old school stuff, what should I show them? OSE, S&W, AD&D, Shadow Dark, AD&D for me.
All right. Well, if you want to, listen, I love AD&D. That's not your intro. You're not going to convert people by to the one true way of role playing by giving them AD&D. Okay. Um, here's my
Bullshit. Sorry.
here's my suggestions. You can two things, and one of them is Swords and Wizardry Light. You can still find the downloads on Drive-Thru. It's 4 pages. 2 are player facing, 2 are DM facing. It's literally 4 pages, 4 classes, 3 races, 3 levels. If you want something,
BX.
and that's basically white box. But
Yeah.
it might.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to go OSC, the OSC basic rules is about 55 pages or so. It's the 4 core classes, only human as a race, and only first level spells, but it's free and it's decently laid out, and it's enough for them to. You don't want them to have to invest money in something until they're happy with it. Because again, if you want to convert them, you want to make it a painless experience. So those are my 2 suggestions.
Gerald goes on and says, "This is the first I'm hearing of 10 foot per square to multiple people fit into one of those squares. Do you know why this was changed?"
I think it was changed. I think it was mentioned that it was changed for the battle grids that we use starting with 3rd edition.
Yeah, 3rd edition. Yep, 3rd edition, 5 foot squares. Noble Shield hit it for us.
Mhm.
Bloodbastard says the Alexandrian has some rules for abstract and return to town.
Okay.
The thing is I'm not against in town type adventures. It's just I grew up. Let's face it, I started playing in '77. It was like everyone was doing dungeons when all the groups I was associated with. That is. Low 505 says your party must release a small gelatinous cube in a glass bottle to clean the sewer. Do you smash the bottle on the ground or uncork it and lay it on the side? You smash the bottle.
I drop it in. I throw it in. Getting nowhere close to it. I'm throwing it.
Noble Shield says, I guess technically 2E with player option. Combat and taxes did the first, but I think it was still 10 foot there. Yeah, 2E was still 10 foot. Doug Pearson says 10 by 10 squares was the normal from 1974 up to deep into the 90s or later. Miniatures were minimalized, or excuse me, were minimal, and VTTs did not exist. Hence, you didn't need resolution. Very true. Roger, welcome to the channel. Roger says, have a chart that they have to roll on for the trip back to town. If they don't make it back by the end of the session, it should be based on character level and number of hexes away from town.
That's an interesting way.
Yep. Fugly, AD&D's OG standard. Mark the Shark says, what's the best mega dungeon to acquire for old school gaming? Tomb of Horrors. It's not a mega
no,
dungeon.
not if you ever want. Not if you want your players to come back.
That's your players to come back, not Tomb of Horrors.
Okay. There's going to be some different takes on this, so I'm going to just throw it out there. And I've actually covered some of these on videos. If you want something that's crazy, go nuts, Funhouse Dungeon.
Yep, that's a good one.
Castle of the Mad Archmage by Joe Block.
Yep,
is a very good Funhouse dungeon. Okay, if you now he's back.
He's back.
If you want something that's a bit more, I'm going to say modular, where you can take pieces apart, and it's a mega dungeon, but it isn't at the same time. Barrow Maze. Barrow Maze is awesome because it can be as big or as small as you want it to be because it's a bunch of barrows that are linked, but they don't have to be linked, and your players can bust walls through to get to other barrows. It's a good option if you're looking at a mega dungeon along that scale. Yeah,
Thaius says, I get that 10-foot square was a standard, but at the same time, 5-foot square is much more granular. I prefer it as someone who likes to draw maps. 5 foot I think is really fine because if you think about it theoretically, if you say only one person can occupy the 5-foot square because they have a sword, when they swing their sword, yada, 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 that's more mini based, I think. Good for minis and such. Horror House has never changed my scale for indoors. Noble Shield says, I take that back. 2E combat tactics set as 1 square 5 foot for some reason. Encourage. Why do you know? 2E Combat in Texas did that? I did not know that. Yeah, neither did I. Caverns of Thracia, sausage head. And then we got Noble Shield. In normal combat situations, each square on a map represents a 5 feet square combat. Gotcha. Okay. Mark the Genre Mixer says Oitog or Gentle's Cube better sewer cleaner? Gentle's Cube. Gentle's Cube is, to me, the classic. What do you think, Eric? Steve?
I'm still stuck on the trick question about the gelatinous cube in your backpack deal. I'm still stuck on that. Yeah.
Lois says the answer is the backpack. If you're carrying the bottle, it's now a clear cube with a bottle with no cork in it.
You know that's like that's like what is it? A riddle in the form of a dad joke. It makes us cringe.
Roger says Stonehell.
Stonehell, I forgot Stonehell. Yeah, Ardenville is nice if you and I have it in print. You can see it on the shelves behind me at some point. But it's 5 volumes plus a map book. It's a lot to invest in monetarily and time wise. But Gillespie stuff is very good. Again, Barrow Maze is first. Is what I think probably for me the best, but maybe I'm a little nostalgic. And Stonehell, you can find Stonehell on Lulu if you're looking for a Stonehell.
Mm-hmm.
About $10 in PDF, if I recall. Michael Curtis, it's very good.
Blue Bastard says paper size is a factor. How many squares can you fit on AF by 11? Yeah, but it also depends on whether you're going 5 foot or 10 foot squares.
And it also depends on the size of the squares in your graph paper.
Yes, because you can get graph paper that's 4 squares to an inch. You can get graph paper that's 8 squares to an inch.
I remember getting the itty bitty ones when I was a teenager, going, "Oh, but I can get more dungeons on one piece of paper." Now, as a 58-year-old adult, I'm like, "Yeah, give me the big grids."
Gerald asked questions. Wait, did you guys not use minis in old school in old D&D? No, we didn't. No. Not my groups. No.
No. We used minis and or occasionally dice to show marching order, and maybe it's a big combat. All right, we'll show the relative facing and positioning with dice, but we didn't measure that shit out. No.
In fact,
who had money for a battle mat?
Well, the thing is, my first minis that guys played with the Green Army Men.
Okay. Now, my first were the Grenadier Outdoor Wilderness Adventurers. It's the one with the halfling blob. It's the halfling with a crossbow behind a tree stump, which looks like a piece of melted lead. Okay? It's got no details. It was a really... for my first set, it sucked.
I used to sit there mow lawns for $5 a lawn. Okay, we're talking $5 for a big freaking lawn. You know,
I know
that's a lot of that's a lot of lawn for minis. I worried about them. I wanted books.
Yes, minis often showed marching order and loose positions. That's all we used it for.
Some of us couldn't afford minis. Poor college students and all. No, when I started D&D, I was 10 years old in '77.
Yeah. So here a little. Peek behind the virtual screen. When I run games at a con, I don't use minis. Okay, I use Theater of the Mind. When I run on a VTT, I use Fog of War, but I don't use minis. I don't use pogs. I don't use tokens. If you want to show me where you're going, ping the map. Okay, because any player in any of the groups I've played in, Joe the Lawyer, Tim Shorts, the rest of them, they'll tell you that I forget to move my token all the time because I don't think on that level. So I don't use them as a DM.
Fluid Fireforge has a question. It says, question night. I have questions like, why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways?
That's that guy, Wright, the comedian, Wright. So why is it? I know.
Is this sort of like the Mary Mary quite contrary joke that
no, that's not quite that. Yeah, it's just like, I don't understand. The guy with the keys like, I don't understand. I use it to be drive on parkways and park on driveways. That's like, all right.
Chris
It was
Moneymaker,
funny back in the 80s.
minis 3 times in 34 years of DMing. I've only used them when there was going to be lots of spell and good. You know what? I will have to say that in all my years of D&D, I rarely used minis, and the people I played with rarely used them.
Yeah.
You know,
But if you're
Mark,
coming from modern gaming, I can understand because that's how it pushes it.
Yeah. Mark Genre Mixer says, in person gaming, I found a numbered 1-inch tokens and a wet erase battle map is best. Sure, or there a dry erase marker board works really well. Poor Child says, minis have always had an appeal for some RP gamers, minis, and why I'm a poor gamer. I knew people who had big mini collections. But see, when I was growing up, I did model building, but I did like 1/35th scale, like German and military armor and stuff like that. So military figures, I really didn't paint D&D minis. So, poor Child says, minis have always had an appeal for some RP gamers and RP gamer now. Fireforge loves minis. And Foogly says, language is a bitch. Gerald Mountain Dew, how you doing? He says, so you have marching order and just assume that enemies target the characters in the front unless their tactic is to target the back line.
I have a marching order, and yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, if you want to run it like a computer game, that is certainly up to you. But when we're running old school games, the mind is your TV set. Just like when we read books back in the day, your mind, I can still think of reading Tolkien, and the images that I got from reading Tolkien are still in my head. I don't have scenes from the movie in my head.
As Tim Cass used to say, damn it, use your fucking theater of the mind. I wish I had $1 for every time he told me that. I'd be in the Bahamas right now. Thyatus says, oh, geez, now I feel the oddball out. I literally have a garage full of minis that I inherited from my father that I use for D&D. And poor child only has like 16,000 minis. Yeah, not much. Not much.
Okay, man.
You're an amateur. We know it. 16,000 minis.
You're an amateur, I tell you.
Chris says, I have about 300 minis. I just don't use them in D&D. See, I just don't. I don't know.
Hold on.
Okay. I'm happy he's wearing pants or shorts.
Yes, I would only be doing it because I'm wearing pants. But there's actually, if you want to zoom in on this, that's here. I'm gonna kill my background to make this coming a little bit clearer, maybe. So that is an
Very
actual
cool.
10-car mini.
Nice.
I did not paint this.
Oh, you didn't?
No, this is my payment for licensing the 10-car The Dwarf, and I got my very own 10-car mini. This will never be played at a table because it is highly detailed.
Really nice.
But actually it's the same set I think that Ken San Andre got the Troll mini made.
Scott Muller says, Don, we're going to have to get some of your PC death certificates for Colony Crawl. Get back to it. Yeah, we can swap out the artwork for Sci-Fi Colony Crawl. Not a problem. Easy. Doug Pearson says, in 1979 in college, we were limited by dollars and space. So we rigged the 1-inch gridded whiteboard vertically and used magnets for PCs and monsters along with Viz and Viz pens. Interesting. A couple dozen minis, but they're cool minis.
There you go.
Poor Orchard says, I have the earliest sets of standees from Steve Jackson Games. Well, he's been around a while, Steve Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I had Orc Slayer, which was the prelude to GURPS, which came after the fantasy trip, but this is when he was doing his own stuff. And you could see you could see the beginnings of it was Orc Slayer and Man to Man, I believe. Then it became GUIPS.
Mm-hmm. I saw a guy today in one of the RPG groups pull out Luftwaffe and said that he found Luftwaffe, I believe, in his dad's stuff, and was wondering if it was an easy game to play. And I was like, no, it's not an easy game to play. It's very complicated. So, and he was like, well, can't you just like send like tons of bombers into use it? I'm like, actually in Luftwaffe it's better to send one bomber in at a time. But Dungeon Terror, how you doing? So, but yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff out there, and you know, by the way, that's a really cool mini. Have you ever
Thank
thought of having it 3D scanned and printed larger?
I hadn't, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll bring it out to WizardCon and we could.
Because I can scan it and
Yeah.
3D print it like I did my other minis that are like 7 inches, 8 inches tall.
Might be interesting. I got to reach out to the person that did this and see if they want if we scan it if they want the STLs. Might be interesting.
Chris says the last time I used minis, I scripted the PC's minis, used Sculpey. Some of them turned out great. Some faces gave me trouble. All depends on how you do it. If you're going to 3D print them, then they should come out fine. But if you're molding them, that's where you might run into some problems. Sovereign Wolf says, how do I buy off your website, Don? When I go, the only thing I see is Lost Adventures. I'm just doing it wrong. No, actually, the thing is our website store is down except for WizardCon tickets because we're redoing it. So, and we were supposed to be up several weeks ago, but it is just, it is the new website's a pain in my ass.
Yes, that's the thing with website launches is if they if they say March, expect June. It's just how it works.
Yeah. I'll just say one word and we'll watch Mr. Lake run. My friend Spot Steve.
Scream.
Yep, Scream is right. He says I hand sculpted them. Yeah, but then it depends. If you hand sculpted them using like the green sculpting wax, it depends how you want to mold them then. Because usually with the green sculpts is you make lead molds or you pewter molds out of them. And if you're going to mold them, the best way to do is use a centrifuge mold. So basically it's a mold that's spinning and you pour the lead or the pewter in the middle and the centrifuge pulls it into all the spaces. So it's called a rotary mold. No one of consequence 1776 says I have probably a few hundred minis, but they're all stored away because I only game in Roll20. So basically, no one of consequence is an online gamer. Cool.
There you go.
And I think that, I think COVID really hit a lot of people with the whole staying online, being online, and discovering online. What do you guys think?
I think COVID has made online gaming more acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. David Watts asked an interesting question. Says, do you use surprise rules for ADD for second edition or DM decides? I use the surprise rules.
I use the surprise rules from BX because I'm running BX.
Yep.
But which means that you're not going to get 2 rounds of surprise actions.
That's right.
You're only looking at maximum of 1. But surprise rules. I got a question for the live stream audience. Do you use reaction rolls?
Ah, good one.
Do you use reaction rolls, or do you just wing it? Because if you wing it, honestly, you're fucking your players over. Okay. Mm-hmm. and if you don't use it, you're turning it into 5e.
That's right.
Because everything then becomes a combat.
Yep.
So you know what? Maybe the orcs are in a good mood. Maybe they just finished their.
They want to sit and talk.
They sat, they drank, and they're not in the mood for combat. Maybe they just want to get some information from the party. So you roll reaction, like, holy crap! I rolled a 12. Look at that. They're talkative.
That's the big misconception, though, of OSR D&D, I think, with a lot of modern players. They think that players just go through and kill every freaking thing that they run into. No, not at all. And in fact, I think when you use reactions, it makes it a much more, I'm going to use the word unstable, but in a positive way. Because what you've got players running into things that in their mind they're thinking are most likely hostile, but doesn't really mean they're hostile.
Right. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, do you use morale? right? It's stuff. Who fights to the death? I mean,
Yep.
all right, in movies, whatever. Heck, in the movies, you see the bad guys running. Oh shit! Half our guys have gone down. Time for us to run. Yet for some reason, playing D&D now, they just stand there and they
Well-
it's understandable if they're cornered, but use morale. Use morale.
Well, even with our RPG, which tended to be combat heavy, there was times that the DM would just send you on a scavenger hunt. It's like, go find this thing and don't come back until you do. So
And sometimes finding that thing requires you to interact with creatures that you would normally think you'd
Yep.
have
yeah,
combat with.
get directions, get clues, get passcodes, things like that. Yeah, because there was dungeons that we had that. Well, I can't really call them dungeons, but it was basically the same thing, where the only way you're getting inside to move forward with that quest was you had to get a passcode from a specific character. So you first had to find the character, and then you kind of had to twist their arm to get the code from them so you could get into the room to get the stuff you needed.
Gerald Mountain Dew says, "Well, I'm looking to get in the OSR." Gerald, if you are looking to get into the OSR, I would highly suggest getting into basic BX.
Yep.
Very quick, easy to learn, fast on the fly, very uncomplicated. I
mean, you can get the original rules. I don't know if there's a POD right now, but I think the PDF is still up on drive-through. But I mean, I keep this stuff at my desk.
And I will say officially that there is now soon going to be a modified version of BX by Wizard Tower Games.
Yay.
All right, so I planted my flag well.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yep, there's going to be a modified edition of BX from Wizard Tower Games. And it's going to be, the Pope is going to adorn it.
Oh, so it's licensed.
It's going to be licensed.
All right. Okay. Well, there we go. Yes, Foogly, BX is a standard. And all righty. Well, I will say this. I'll be running my open table under the BX rules, but we shall see what the updated BX rules. I might be changing my quote system in a year or so, but we shall see.
I have a feeling you might be.
Or maybe, and I'm just going to throw this out there because this is kind of new news to me, but maybe we'll be able to play test some of the rules with using the open table. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
I'm going to say something to people real quick also. I see this a lot in the gaming groups and also in the RPG development groups. You don't have to be a multi-million-dollar company to get something good. What you do is it takes you to be organized, put together a decent package, a decent proposal, reach out, and when you're told not interested, you keep up. Why you're not interested? What am I doing wrong? They'll communicate with you. They'll talk to you. And, just because, even if they ignore your the first 10 emails, write an 11th. Tenacity wins the day, trust me.
There you go. Dan, that's a loud pussy. That's all.
Yes, it is. He's got himself a loud one in there. Just give him the bird so Temmie can hump it and shut up. David Watts says, I've never used trading gold for XP, so if you don't kill monsters, how do you get more XP without looting them? See, that's the thing. That's the difference between OSR D&D is gold equals XP.
Right. So it makes you think not in how can I kill this stuff, it's how do I steal their stuff.
Mhm.
And if I can steal their stuff without killing it, because it's a deadly game if you're going to go,
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, the XP by the book, if you're going to go through BX and just kill shit to level up, come back to me in a year and maybe you'll be hitting second level. Because the XP for here, I'm just opening it up. Let's see.
It's OSR. It's gold equals XP, monsters equal XP. I mean, if you want to switch up your OD&D or OSR D&D game, Sure, remove gold for XP and make it strictly monster killing monsters. But then what you're going to do is you're going to have nothing but a hack and slash game.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the appeal for me of OSR D&D is sometimes you don't want to attack everything,
Right.
because that's how you die quickly.
Right. If you're not in most of you listen, can you get caught by traps and other stuff? Sure. But if you've watched my channel, you know that I suggest that you should be telegraphing that stuff. I don't believe in save or die gotcha moments. Okay, unless the party is like running headlong into trouble. So because people go, it's good, it's too deadly. It makes you think.
Play it right then. Use your brain.
If you're a thinking player, you shouldn't have an issue. I'm surprised my cat's not doing the same thing.
Mine's like being super clingy. I think he's out of food.
Yeah,
Oh,
is
yeah.
on a laptop with her speaker, and and Hemi's freaking out my cat Loki. Another orange cat. So
My cat's an orange cat. So go for
yeah.
it.
Scott Mulder says XP for gold money makes sense in that when you come back from a dungeon, the things you learned are worth payment for those. Yeah, it makes sense. And I think the reason why the thought became that was just that concept. But also it makes you think is, let's say that you go to a room and there's monsters in it and you sneak in a very quiet way, peer in, and they've got, chests full of gold. Do you go in and fight the monsters, or maybe the idea is, do we distract them to get them out of the room in some way so we can get to the money? So I think OD&D is an OSR D&D makes you think better.
Yeah.
I say just use a flashbang and go in and take it that way.
Yeah, true.
What's the flashbang BX again? I think.
Chris Moneymaker says, I use the individual class and race awards. Some of the classes, especially those from the rogue, there's many ways you can do it. I mean, but see, that's the misconception of OSR D&D by modern players. They think it's just one great big monster hunt.
Yeah, it 5e is the monster hunt. Okay.
Yes, because 5e, your players start off like at equal to be like 9th level half the time. Mark the Shark says that cat's making my dogs bark.
There we go. It's all fun.
Yeah. Fugly says it doesn't mean you have to unalive a monster to gain XP. It could mean successfully navigating the encounter. Absolutely. Again, the appeal of.
I don't think I've done a proper video on money for XP.
You have not, I don't think.
So as we're doing this, I'm going onto my second screen, and I have a couple of pages of I call it the brainstorming list, and I'm adding that to the list just because there are times when it's like, all right, that video might just fit. Actually, Scott, I got to run too. I got to go over my Discord.
Yep, Scott, thanks for tuning in. Eric, thank you, sir. Eric is going to be in the speakeasy in his Discord.
Yes.
So if you want to also say hello and hang out with Eric on Discord, have a good Thursday night. Eric, thanks for being on tonight.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen. Awesome as always.
Gentlemen.
I use that
term loosely.
It applies because you happen to be men, and you might occasionally be gentle. All right, guys.
All right, Eric. Have a good night. Okay.
Yep.
Chris Moneymaker says just defeating a monster is all you need to get XP. Yes, that's true, but also, but that's in your system, I think. But also, part of it is the idea of, when there's the chest of gold and there's monsters in the room, maybe the monsters party is overwhelming for yours. So, use your brain, theater of the mind. And also, some monsters may not have treasure on, but they still worth XPs. And see, that's the whole hack and slash aspect of D&D. Is hack and slash is just going in and killing anything and everything you see, and that's not always the idea. Because if you have an elf that knows, like Goblin as an example, why not try to capture the Goblin and try to talk to it and interact with it and for information? Because maybe that Goblin knows something that you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
So, poor child says my druid has a ring of shooting stars. It's close enough to flashbang. Very true. Glad I caught the end of it. Dungeon Terra. Chris Lundgren, how you doing? No, actually, it's 9:00 already, but we're kind of just wandering around D&D, OD&D, OSR D&D right now, or anything else. But so I guess what I'll do real quick, I'll give an update on the Wizard Tower games. What we're doing is one of the reasons why you see the website store down right now is because we're redoing the website to be Wizard Tower Games and Publishing, because we're now going to be offering game and book publishing, game and book printing. So what we're doing is we're putting a new website up, and I took the store down because of the issues with the shop. Until we get the ability to print and bind and do all that 100% back up, we want to go ahead and we want to, we don't want to sell things we can't deliver. So the idea is take the shop down, get the website back up, get operations back up and running so we can go ahead and start providing product. But we're also now expanding into Barnes & Noble, into Amazon and such, because a lot of people want to, they want to use their Prime to purchase something, or maybe they have a Barnes & Noble discount. So, yeah. So that's where we're at with that. Fugly says the AD&D player's handbook has XP values for monsters above and beyond treasure. Yes, because that's AD&D. Chris Moneymaker says that's not what I was saying. I meant you didn't have to kill it, just defeat it. And is that your system, Chris? Because in AD&D and D&D, capturing something, or I guess I don't understand what you mean by defeating it. So that'd be an interesting discussion to have. Douglas Pearson says, distract the monster in a wild goose chase, blazing saddles. Yoo-hoo, boys, look at what yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. I did not notice there were unconnected links last night. And then poor child says, make information great again. Exactly. So, but yeah, the thing is with the Wizard Tower Games website, the only link that doesn't go to something is the store right now. Just because, like I said, it goes to the store, but there's not a lot there. It's mainly just WizardCon tickets. But that's going to change real soon. So, but Steve, you look like you're getting ready to fall asleep.
No, I'm just listening.
That's fine. We're after 9:00. We've been on for an hour. We've had a real active chat. We've had a lot of talk about D&D. David Watts says real quick, so defeat monster also means outsmart it so you can steal its money. Well, yeah, I guess if you steal something from the group of monsters in a room or the monster in the room, you are defeating it in a sense. You're bypassing it and taking what it has. Chris Moneymaker says defeating it could be making it run, capturing it, or you know what? That's interesting. I guess you could issue XP points by capturing it, or a number of other things. It just depends on how you want to run your game. Yeah, David just not killing it. Again, it's the flexibility of D&D. This is the thing that I think that people don't understand about the game. If you do not like a rule in AD&D or D&D, you can change that rule to suit your game style or players. Just be consistent. If you are going to do it for today, make sure that same rule applies for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Chris Lundgren says, Don, love to hear you talk about 3D modeling. I think we're going to do that on a different video because that'll take up a good hour. Because 3D modeling is a process. I have a 3D scanner. I can 3D scan an item and then convert it into an STL file to print. But there's a process that goes with it, and it's a really interesting process. Then David Watts says, then you can get the XP for the money. Yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, sure, change the rule. Why not? It's your game. That's what it's all about. Well, Gygax was big on fighting a monster to the point of submission, get the XPs. Yes, because that's the core mechanic of the game is, in order to get the XP, you have to kill it. Capturing the goblin does not get you the XPs. Killing it does. But changing the rules in D&D and AD&D is acceptable, and that's per Gary Gygax in the appendix where he talks about it. Just be consistent. So,
Well,
but
here's
go
one
ahead.
twist that we did. Was like we would come up against another. Well, we didn't have goblins, but well, I mean, we did sometimes. But in some of the games where we didn't have goblins, we would have a thief, and you'd have one of your guys come over there and start talking to him and interacting with him. And while you're doing that, the thief comes around and steals stuff off that monster,
Sure.
and you just you bank that and you use it however you want to.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the thief, and that's why the thief class was a really cool class to have.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is this: what happens if the thief is caught? If the creature notices it, then you got a really big problem. So thieves were at one hand, a thief could be very handy, but then
And
a
it
thief
also
could be
gets you
a
in a
big
butt ton
pain.
of trouble.
Exactly. And then Chris Lundgren says 100%. I have an item that used to be called the Salt Tent in my AD&D and OSR and Swords and Wizardry games. Think a living, breathing tent where you can rest your characters when the players can't. That's actually a pretty cool. I can't play. That's actually pretty cool. That'd be a cool magic item to have. But you know what? We're after 9:00. Steve's 17-year-old cat Hemi. By the way, that cat meowing is 17 years old. I remember that thing as a kitten. I remember the scalding coffee on my leg from your cat, Steve, when it was a kitten. Happy memories.
Oh yeah.
Gerald Mountain Dew asks, are there certain creature types that aren't undead that don't make reaction rolls? That are not undead? I think there are a couple. I believe the Tarrasque does not make a reaction roll. Dragons do not make reaction rolls. Dinosaurs don't make reaction rolls. Demons and devils don't. In AD&D, it's usually the higher, more powerful creatures. The Lich does not. No, Lich. Never mind. Lich is undead. So yeah, some of the larger, more powerful creatures don't do reaction rolls. Chris Lunger says, I love the assassin class. You know what? A lot of people do. I'm more old school, Chris. I like just the good old fashioned, fighter, cleric, magic user. Those are my three go-tos. One of the three, or I'll multi-class, like fighter, magic user, fighter, cleric, something like that. Real quick, Fugly says if the thief is caught, disavow him. That's right. You just abandon that son of a bitch. I don't know who that guy is.
Not me.
David Watts says I had a cat that was 22. Wow.
Yeah, my dad did too.
Yeah, that's an old cat. Chris Mike says looking forward to talking to you tomorrow, Don. Yeah, me and Chris are gonna be talking on the phone tomorrow about his game. He's got a really cool game coming up. Gerald Mondew says my first thoughts are elementals. Yeah, elementals, plants, oozes also don't have reaction rolls. Challenge queues don't get yes, exactly. Chris Lundgren says I have it in PDF and Word format, Don. Can I send it to you for your players for every hour inside of 8 hours and more? Sure, go ahead. I'll be absolutely happy to check it out. Absolutely. Jello cubes roll you exactly. Don't anyone ever use a monk? I have never used a monk. I don't like the monk class. I don't like it. Never have. I know that it was a popular class with a lot of people when it first came out. A lot of people are like, "Oh, the monk, that's real cool." Nah. Like I said, I'm just I don't think that since 1977 playing D&D, I rarely went outside fighter, magic user, or cleric. I think I played an assassin character a couple times. Never played a paladin. I hate the paladin class. Not a fan of the assassin class. Fighter, magic user, cleric for me. What about you, Steve?
For me, it was usually like a magic user.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Course,
one more class that I like, the illusionist.
Oh,
I like the illusionist class. But that's that's the big thing.
One of the classes that's for you guys is probably pretty rare. That one of the other guys liked to play a lot was the the Saintus, because and not so much because of how great that class was. It was more that everybody loved them when you got into like one of these combat heavy dungeons, because it was like die, resurrect, die, resurrect, die, resurrect. So they could
Yeah.
keep playing longer.
In your game system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There
David
were guys that did that too. They just died constantly.
Watts says assassin or barbarian. I'll be honest, if I had my choice, I'd choose a barbarian. I'm just not a big fan of the assassin class. I mean, I see it for certain types of games. It might be fun, but I think it takes a special kind of DM to put a special type of game together to make the assassin class be fun. And then Poor Child says 50 years ago it was common for cats to live longer. I did not know that. Fugly says, I find the monk to be awkward in a fantasy Eurocentric game. So do I. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if it was just my younger years growing up and it was like the fighter, magic user, or cleric type thing, but I just think those three classes are just the core basics for me. But again, that's the great thing about D&D. You play the game that you want. Play the character that you want, the class that you want. I may like something. Steve may say, you know what, that sucks. Go ahead and then play what you want. Chris Lundgren says, my favorite monster in AD&D is the Aspis drones. Miss them and used to most or Greyhawk Slavery series for a year game. What my favorite monster in D&D is? It's a tie. The Goblin or the Kobold. The most basic of monsters. I just love the basics. Kobolds, orcs, hobgoblins, trolls are real great. I like to use those. John Deterred says, Paladin Assassin. Yeah, I've never, that's just like a dual class, man, that I just can't get into. Paladins are a must if you have the stats. You see, to me, David Watts brings a good point up, because to me, I like an underdog. Power is great, but I like to really challenge myself. I've never played a paladin. I just don't like the class. Just never have been into it. Mark the Shark says, never used a monk, thought they were out of place, but I have. Paladins are awesome. Paladins are awesome for the game and the game mechanics. I think they're a very powerful character class to have, but it's not for me as a player. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I'd want one on my team, but not be that one on the team.
Yeah. Chris says, Don, I'm getting finally my copy of OSRIC 3.0. I went all in, so the screen. Nice. Very, very cool. Excellent. Where is the best barbarian class stats? There are various ones. Probably for the barbarian would be a mixture, probably either dexterity or probably constitution or strength for barbarian. You want a very, very, strong class for the barbarian with a good constitution. Barbaric Yup says, I just like the core 4 classes. Yeah, me too, man. Rust Monster. That's right. David Watts, the Rust Monster, the bane of people who wear armor. Gerald Mountain says, I'm sure you're acquainted with Tucker's Kobolds. What do you mean Tucker's Kobolds? I am not well acquainted with Tucker's Kobolds. Chris Lundgren says, my players are terrified of Sturge. The thing is, the Sturge, man, that type of flying creature, they could be a pain in a party's ass. And that's the thing. A lot of people the thing with the Sturge is, it's one of those creatures that players, I think, when you first describe it to them, they're like, so what? What are they? No, they can make some havoc on a party. Barbaric Yup says hobgoblins. I agree. That's kind of the classic group, like the classic 12 monsters, I think. Gerald Mountain Dew says, I like monsters that punish certain default players' behavior, such as jealous cubes and rust monsters. Exactly. The classics. Again, we're getting right back to the basics, because if you notice what the people in the chat are talking about, Steve, they're going back to the basics. Rust monster, hobgoblins, gelatinous cubes, that type of thing.
Oh, I got
Go ahead.
one that it wasn't actually a game mechanic, but I made it up for the Magefall series. Is one of the lady mages in the series has a spell called Arcane Rust, and this will like literally rust even like legendary weapons. So if you got anything that's metal and she casts that, you're done. That weapon's just toast.
Yeah.
So
David Wass says the problem with Paladin is is that they limit the party to good acts, and that's the other thing. That's the aspect of the Paladin that the DM can punish the group, and the DM can use the Paladin against a group in very fundamental ways. David Wass says Sturges. Yeah, they are. They're like highly underestimated monsters. Sturges are just Virginia mosquitoes, yeah. And the thing is, like goblins, people are like, "What's the big deal about goblins?" Oh, I can cause you a lot of havoc in a group with goblins, depending on your level. Goblins can really be a pain in your ass. Poor Charles says, "I'm fine with a good party." The problem is, you may have a good party, but sometimes good parties have to do bad things to attain the goal, and that's where the Paladin comes in play. Chris Lunger says, Don, have you ever heard of an RPG called Powers and Perils? Yes, I have. I just found still available legally for free, even V2 of the game. Yes, I have. Powers and Perils. I've never played it. I think I have a copy of it. Actually, I do have a copy of it. Powers and Perils. Up there. Poor Chow says, Rust Sturges of the new Aerial Scourge. Chris says, Don, I've even heard of that game, Powers and Perils. Yes. Doug Pearson says, Don, you need to Google Tucker's Kobolds and get to the original story, kind of like the old story. I'll check it out, Tucker's Kobolds. Chris Moneymaker says, my players are terrified of almost everything. I draw pictures of them. One always says, that's terror. That's good. Scared players are a good thing. Let's take a look here. Chris Lunger says, been GMing for 40 years and finally used a mimic, and my players had never before. It was mimics are great monsters. Great monsters. You talk about knocking a party off their square, throw a couple mimics at them. And yes, they are the most versatile. Troglodytes are great. Troglodytes are really, really good creatures. But again, we're talking about, rot grubs. Aren't they just wonderful? Rot grubs are the little worms that just make people's days so much better. You can kill a rot grub with fire. That's all it takes, really. Really, you could use fire to kill a rot grub. The player's not going to have a good day, but you can kill it. Gerald says, Tucker Kobolds is a blog post about a group of kobolds that got a high-level party to chase them into their den where they forced them in their neural tunnels with lots of traps. Oh, okay. See, but that's the thing. That is a DM using a very simplistic monster that tricks the players into thinking, oh, these guys are easy to kill. Let's go after them. And what do the kobolds do? They lure the players from safety into a bad situation. That's good DMing right there. Mm-hmm. That is solid DMing. That's the DM, again, theater of the mind, the DM thinking it through. I've got a powerful party. Let's trick that powerful party. I'll use basic monsters against them. So, yeah, very, very, very cool. Thank you, Gerald, for explaining that. Chris says, my players are loving zombies from Bloat Games, and they are still alive -1 player. Talk about theme and tension. Yep. Fire, if you know that. Exactly. But then again, that's the problem with D&D is because players get the monster manuals. They know what kills, what does if they are playing it long enough. And how do you differentiate that as a DM? Again, the DM has to play. The conga line of doom. Exactly, Foogly. Chris Moneymaker says, poor child, they know death is the only couple bad rolls away. I have one player I always call 2 days before a game day and ask him if his backup character's updated. That's right. But Steve is 920. You kind of got that zoned out look, and I think Hemi's passed out.
I hope so. He was being noisy.
Yes, he was. He's being clingy. But everybody, it is going on 9:30. We appreciate everybody's chat. We're going to shut this down for Thursday night on the Vlog of Many Things. It has been a really active chat. Thank you for all the D&D questions. This is what we like. We love talking D&D and getting everybody's perspective, everybody's ideas and thoughts on the game. A lot of people brought up a lot of really cool stuff. Gerald, thank you on the Tucker's Cabols. Again, that was a really good example of a DM using the basics against players. Using oh, that's easy. We're going to kill those things. Well, they just lured you into something that screwed you. But real quick, we'll do the last few comments. Chris Moneymaker says, "Poor Orc Child. They know death is only a couple." Yep, read that. Yep. Have a good night, Chris. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Chris Lundgren says, "I use sound effects to just give vague descriptions of my players. Sound effects are really cool. There's actually a few CDs I used to have for D&D that you play in the background when you do D&D." Fugly, good night. Have a good night. And David Watts says, "PC's currently having issue with ghouls. Should have been a walkover. Not going to be total TPK. Gotta love it." And then Glenn Hauser. Glenn, sorry you missed the chat tonight. We would have got you in. So we'll check you tomorrow night. And Glenn has the final comment for tonight. So everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. Glenn, see you tomorrow night on Eric's channel. And Steve, thanks for coming on again tonight, my friend.
Oh, you're welcome.
And hope Hemi has a good night.
Yeah.
But this is Don, Steve with the Vlog of Many Things. We're going to sign off, everybody. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Remember, play D&D. And yes, Chris, I did get the RPG rules sent to you. Yes, I did. So I'll send you a reply. My apologies. So everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. Stay gaming, and we will see you on Tuesday for our lunchtime chat at 1:00 Eastern time, and then the Vlog of Many Things 8:00 every Thursday. So please like and subscribe, Vlog of Many Things, and